Hello and welcome back to the Beer Jerk Beer of the Week drink along with Matt
and Luke.
And this week we are drinking something that I am very excited about. So this beer is from our mates at Deeds over in Melbourne, and it is a peanut butter Imperial Stout. Now, Imperial Stouts are basically the king of beer styles.
Wait.
If you look at any rating website, the beers that dominate beer festivals, the Rate Beer Top 100, the Untapped Best Beers, top rated beers.
I mean, what do people know though? It's obviously barley wine is the king of beers.
People know that Imperial Stouts are delicious, is what they know.
They are delicious, even if you're
point.
very bad at pouring them.
Yeah.
It looks like a cake, it tastes like a cake.
You lost a bit.
No, that's alright.
So this is a peanut butter Imperial Stout. So Imperial Stout, as most of you know, Imperial denotes strength. So this is 10%. It's a big, strong, rich, chocolatey, peanutty, boozy, sweet.
Imperial
delicious.
Stouts are amazing. As much as all beer styles are amazing in their own different way. But yeah, one of my go-to styles for when I want big flavours, a big experience, and just an experience of a beer when I really want to absorb myself in big flavour, it's an Imperial Stout I'm going to be reaching for.
Yeah, I think that, saying it's the king of beer styles is doing disservice to a lot of beer styles, but I would struggle to think of a beer style that is more fun. Like, because of just the big flavour that you get from the malt, the big supporting base that you're building from, the richness, the chocolate, the coffee, all those flavours that you're bringing in there, plus supported by alcohol. You've got this really strong flavour base that you can build from and play with other flavours like peanuts and chocolate and fruits and all sorts of stuff that you can get away with big flavours because there's so much just built into the base of the beer that can support it.
And that's why pastry stouts have become such a major thing in the past few years. It's such a natural thing. You've got this amazing base of Imperial Stouts, and actually something we've been chatting about recently is that you don't see that many fantastic Imperial Stouts around these days that don't have all kinds of adjuncts in. It's as though people have kind of forgotten a little bit about just delicious Imperial Stouts that are not aged in a barrel and they don't have any other adjuncts in. But that's probably a discussion for another day, because this Imperial Stout has a lot of big adjuncts in it.
Yeah, so I think we're probably drinking this a little cold because we just whipped it out of the fridge at the last minute. So definitely let this beer warm up. It's going to give you so much more character and so much more depth. The slight kind of astringency and acidity of any dark malt that I've got coming through a tiny bit at the moment is going to fade away when you let that beer warm up. So do yourself a favour, take it out of the fridge an hour and a half before you crack into it. What I like to do is this time of year I've got the fire going at home, so I just pop a can in front of the fire for a little bit. You can also, after you've cooked something in the oven and got the residual.
Shut up! Do not bake your Imperial Stout. Just stick it in your pocket for a few minutes, it'll be fine, it'll warm nicely. And it just warms up in your hand nicely, isn't it?
You can chuck it in the oven if you like.
And it is nice to drink big beers like this, just out of a normal wine glass, or something like a goblet is really good, or something you can really cup in your hands and warm up, and get a good amount of aroma. So probably not like a big straight-sided pint glass.
So a few years ago, Batch Brewing made a beer called Seamaster, which they called an Imperial Ale. And when they launched that, they did some Batch branded kind of brandy balloons.
Yeah,
and so
beautiful.
I always like to drink my big dark beers out of those because you can really get a lot of surface area contact to warm it up, and just like all the aroma comes down the top. So
Good to drink out of a Lyra glass.
Yep, you can drink that out of our new Lyra glasses if you're one of the 46 people who got hold of one.
Yeah, they sold out, right?
Yeah.
Sorry if you didn't get one.
I think we have one left and it's on the bar.
Yeah, right. If you come to the fridge and flag it, you can buy the last Lyra glass.
Yep.
This beer it's got such a nice body to it. It just got a real nice, smooth, slick viscosity. I'm surprised at the impressive head retention, actually. That's the thing that I've had discussions with brewers recently about these big pastry stouts. Often when you're using these different adjuncts, so like peanutty type things especially, nuts contain oils that just kill your head retention and kill your lacing. And generally in beer, that is a sign of a poorly made beer if your head doesn't stick around and if you have bad lacing. But with these sort of pastry imperial stouts, it's actually more about just the slickness, that when you sort of whoosh it around your glass, that you can just see it clings onto the side of glass like a filmy, oily residue because it's so thick. So yeah, good job on the head retention for this one.
By lacing, what Luke is referring to is, you've got better lacing than me, so it's these lines that sit around the edge of the glass, and often you'll see with, again, as Luke says, really well-made beer and properly clean glassware, is you can tell how fast someone drinks because you get the rings,
like a strata,
where the head sits, and you take a sip and it kind of goes down, and you get the rings kind of coming down, and that's what lacing is. But yeah, Deeds are a really cool brewery. We've been bringing them in for a couple of years now, importing them over here for you guys, and they are one of the most hyped breweries in Australia. They specialise and they make their name from big beers like this, big Imperial Stouts, big triple IPAs. They do a really good line in hazy IPAs and stuff as well. But they do broaden out, and they do a whole bunch of regular style as well. Hazy's obviously dominating because they dominate for most of the big breweries, but they do really well with sours, some of their pastry sours. But they do
Italian Pilsner was amazing.
Yeah, that Italian Pilsner as well. So,
but it's the hype beers like this that people really get behind, and one of the wonderful things that we love with importing is that we get to introduce people to these new breweries that people wouldn't ordinarily have access to, and also it's kind of fun that still in New Zealand most people haven't heard of Deeds as much as they're one of the biggest, hypest breweries in Australia, and their batches sell out just instantly. It's kind of nice that it's almost like it's our little secret, just us beer jerks that get to drink and experience these beers.
Yeah, so we do have a few left of our Deeds mix case, and I'm surprised that we do, because for me, that, I don't know where Luke's gone, it's back.
I just worried I hadn't turned the camera on. Wouldn't be the first time. The Deeds mix case.
Yeah, the Deeds mix case. I think it is one of, if not the best value mix cases that we've ever done. It's got this in it, so if you enjoyed this and you want another one, you can crack into another one of those. It's got a Glorious Purpose, which is very similar, but with it's a bourbon barrel aged blended Imperial Stout with cherries. So another big Imperial Stout there. It's got 2 hazy triple IPAs. It's got a nice 3% sessionable Berliner Weiss and a nice 3% session hazy as well, to kind of give you a bit of balance there. And what are the other 2 in there? You've got a hazy pale ale called Deregulate Tapioca for some reason, even though there's no tapioca in it.
Yeah, I need to know the story behind Deregulate Tapioca.
Yeah, and another beer is in there too.
You said the Italian Pilsner?
I didn't say the Italian Pilsner, there you go. The Italian Pilsner that Luke mentioned earlier.
Did you say the pint one?
One standard drink, yeah, it's the hazy pale ale. So
zoned out, I wasn't really.
Yeah, no pay attention.
And it's $88 for an 8-pack, so you do the maths. It's a very, very affordable box of beers.
Especially when you consider that 4 of them are above 10%.
So considerably less than you'd be paying if you were in Melbourne buying these beers. So we have got a few of those mixed cases yet left. As I say, not many people know about Deeds in New Zealand, so I'm kind of shocked that they're still in stock after, I think, 5 or 6 weeks maybe it's been.
Yeah.
So we've still got a few of those and nab one of those quickly.
We did bring in one other really special beer from Deeds, which Luke's going to go and get from the fridge now, which is called Desperate Invocation. So we have 2 of those left. So if you are in Auckland and you're quick, you can grab one of these as well, which is Deeds' kind of ultimate, most premium lineup. It's a 14.8% bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout with coconut and vanilla. I got one of them when it came in, and it is an absolute stunner. So if you want to check that out, I recommend you come down to Wildstock on Saturday, where we will be doing some can pours of it.
So we'll come back to Wildstock in a second, but Deeds...
My segue.
All right, I'll wrap up quickly. Deeds' logo, which is this sort of like sawmill, and one of their beers is called Sawmill, so that all comes from the...
Sawtooth.
Sawtooth, yeah, not Sawmill, Sawtooth.
Sawmill's a brewery, Sawtooth is the...
a great brewery. They have a quite an iconic sawtooth roof to their warehouse, and in fact, if you notice, a lot of warehouses they have a sort of sawtooth roof to them because it's the best way of getting light into a building.
Yeah, you'll have seen that if you've been to Brothers Brewing in Mount Eden.
Yeah.
Their brewery, they've got a sawtooth roof there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the leather
facing the way.
factory.
Leather factory.
Yeah.
And the brewery was not open to visitors when I was last in Melbourne, which was like 2.5 years ago before COVID. But now they do have a tap room, so I know a lot of us are making our way around the world and travelling now that COVID is somewhat declining. So do pop and see Deeds and pay them a visit when you're next in Melbourne. But what's that?
But when you're next in Auckland,
Yeah.
this weekend on Saturday, come along to Wildstock. So Wildstock is an event that we've been running for a few years with Jules Van Costello of Cult Wines and Known Unknown Wines. He is a specialist in low intervention and natural wines, and he is joining us here at the Fridge and Flagon for a celebration of wild and interesting beers and wines. So we've got an incredible lineup with beers from the likes of McLeod's, Craftworks, Cell Division, Wilderness, Emporium. Got a 6 litre. I don't know if you saw Luke's video earlier in the week of him unpacking the Wilderness shipment.
A Methuselah.
A Methuselah, which is a 6 litre bottle of their raspberry dark sour. We've got
Aged
beers,
3 years. I
yeah,
think.
beers from Boat Rocker, Moondog, Garage Project, 8 Wired. It's an incredible lineup. We've got the new Small Gods collaboration between us and Jules at Cut Wine, which is a Chardonnay brut sparkling ale, which you can get your hands on as well.
Agnostos Theos.
Yep. And on top of that, we've got a huge selection of natural wines that Jules is bringing up, and he can tell you more about those on the day because we know very little about wine.
So things like orange wines and pet nats, if you might have heard of those. So basically those wines that you start seeing around these days that come in cool, clear bottles and have labels that look like craft beer labels and taste delicious. So yeah, lots of really tasty stuff, and a few of the winemakers are going to be here, a few brewers are going to be here. We're going to have pies from Brewery Brewers Pies.
Those pies are amazing. I had one the other night.
Yeah,
So good.
Really good. So from midday to 8 o'clock this Saturday, come visit us.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.